This is the story about a guy named John. From his kitchen in his tiny little country home, John presented us with a gift. Hey, wait a second, that dining room looks familiar. Oh, wait, it can't be, it couldn't be. By now, you probably guessed that John is really John Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, and his gift, according to the Historical Society, was his namesake, the sandwich. Seems the Earl wanted something to eat with one hand while playing cards, and when the man was the First Lord of the Admiralty 3 times, he gets what he wants. I mean, who wants to argue with him? But today, we don't want to talk about the 4th Earl, or for that matter, the 5th Earl, who was also John, or the 6th Earl, which was the first George, and then there was another John, and then we don't want to talk about Edward either, whose son Victor, he took over while Edward went to war, but Victor's mom was an American, but you can read all about that in the book later. And then there was another George, and then we have Hinchinbrook, who actually disclaimed his peerage and his title. But luckily it was reclaimed by his son, John Edward Hollister Montague, the 11th Earl of Sandwich, and namesake of the Disney Springs restaurant. And we'll have to talk about another Earl, Robert Earl, the founder of Planet Hollywood and the partner in Guy Fieri's Chicken Guy. They might play a part in this story. See, back in 1999, the Earl of Sandwich's 5th son, Orlando, had an idea for a restaurant. And today, that business is headquartered right here in Orlando. Wow, not quite the same as the family kitchens back at Hinchinbrook House. Well, in 2004, the first ever Earl of Sandwich restaurant opened in downtown Disney, which is now Disney Springs, and the 11th Earl was there. And the 11th Earl has been very supportive of his son's efforts in business, even delivering sandwiches himself. Well, but it's unknown whether he's actually ever worked the food truck. Okay, I'll admit it, the Earl of Sandwich is one of my favorite places to eat, and they're expanding all the time. At last count, 35 company-owned restaurants and a growing number of franchises. They have places there on the Florida Turnpike, and they've been expanding their neighborhood restaurant category, opening 5 restaurants in the Tampa-St. Pete area. With Earl of Sandwiches opening from New York City to San Diego, they really are coast to coast. I mean, they even have a place in South Dakota. South Dakota! I kind of wonder what the 4th Earl would think about that. And in keeping with its original Disney roots, they're also opening downtown Disney outside of Disneyland. One of their newest joints is the Disney Village in Disneyland Paris. It seems just a tad bigger than the one back in Orlando. But meanwhile, back at Disney Springs, the Earl of Sandwich is introducing its new Philly Cheesesteak. Keep in mind, I grew up in the shadow of the city of brotherly love, and I've been to Pat's Yunk Avenue and eaten at both Gino's and Pat's the King of Steak, where Pat's ordering has been legendary for years. So, I'm a pretty good judge of what cheesesteak's like. Now, Jean was born in Philly, so no surprise that when she ordered, she went with a hot ham and cheese sandwich. It's really one of her go-tos whenever we go to Earl of Sandwich, but sometimes she'll order the original 1762, their roast beef sandwich. But today, I'm going to defy logic and try the Philly cheesesteak. Now, the first go-round, that didn't go so well. The steak was cold, so we took it back and tried again. But beyond that initial snafu, well, I was impressed. Just the right amount of onions and peppers and some pretty good provolone cheese. I mean, not Philadelphia good, but one of the closest I've found in Central Florida. I've learned to live with the fact that they'll never get their rolls right. I've been told it's the water from Philadelphia. There was one place on Magnolia Street downtown that used to overnight Amoroso rolls from Philly, but they went out of business. Guess it's hard to change the minds of people who think sandwiches named after underground trains are the best. But they're wrong, and they should really at least try the new cheesesteaks from Earl of Sandwich. Okay, man, how do I get this video back on track? I know, what would Rocky do? I mean, Rocky's eaten at Pat's Steaks before, and Sylvester Stallone played Rocky, and Sylvester Stallone's a friend of Robert Earl, who in turn is partners in the Earl of Sandwich. Phew, man, I'm sorry about that, but anybody who's ever been through the Philadelphia area will tell you once you get on the Schuylkill Expressway, sometimes it's hard to get off. So now that we're finally back in Florida, there are some things you should know about the Earl of Sandwich. Number one, it's fairly inexpensive, so it'll probably look less like Disney's picture and more like Warner Weiss's from Yesterland. It can get pretty busy inside there. Number two, there are a lot of choices on the menu, so you might want to familiarize yourself with the menu before you even get to the order window. And number three, every sandwich is custom made, so you might expect a little bit of a wait. And don't take your insulin shot too early. Now, when it comes to seating, there are a fair number of tables inside. There's 3 separate areas across the room, so they can become pretty crowded for wheelchair users. I much prefer the outside seating, and usually 1 or 2 people from our group will go in and order, and the rest of us will wait at the table, staying out of everybody's way in a restaurant. In addition to the Earl's large selection of sandwiches, there's also a large selection of drink options, including brewed iced tea made in-house. They also have their own potato chips, and every meal should be topped off with one of the Earl's cookies. Oh, and annual pass holders, don't forget your 10% discount. I'm sure that Orlando Montague, Robert Earl, and John Montague can hardly wait for the review that's coming up next. And we're going to review them on atmosphere, food, accessibility, and value. For atmosphere, well, Earl of Sandwich rates a 2. They try, but with as small a store as it is, there's not really much they can do to theme out the whole place. They have the cute little non-fireplace in the corner, but that's about it for there. Now the food rates a 4 for what it is. It's sandwiches, and usually hot sandwiches, and they're really good at what they do. I've never had a bad meal here. I've enjoyed it every time we've gone. And again, because of its size, the Earl of Sandwich only rates a 2 on accessibility as far as wheelchairs go. It's very difficult to move a wheelchair around here, and the temporary stanchions with the big base plates doesn't help at all. And for value, well, we're back up to a 4 here. I mean, let's face it, a hot sandwich at an inexpensive price in Disney Springs, that's something to talk about, and Earl of Sandwich does just that. Well, as far as Earl of Sandwich goes, yeah, I'm definitely going to recommend it. I think it's probably the restaurant we've eaten at the most at in Disney property, including that McDonald's over there by the All-Star Resorts, which is more expensive than any. We're not going to go into that right now. Earl of Sandwich is great. You should go ahead and try it. Now, as far as the Philly restaurants go, I'm really not going to pick sides. I'm going to let you decide in the comments below whether you like Pat's or that other guy's place. No, really, I just want to remain neutral in the whole thing and let you guys decide in the comment section below. Well, it looks like Emmy's just a little too comfortable to answer your likes and comments right now, but I'm pretty sure she'll look forward to them sometime in the future. I really hope you enjoyed this video too, and that you'll consider giving it a big thumbs up right down below. That way, Frank Oliveri Jr., the president of Pat Steaks, and the 11th Earl of Sandwich, John Montague, will also know that you care. I try to put out a new video each and every Friday, and if this is the kind of content you'd like to see more of, why don't you consider subscribing? A one-time free offer of a subscription is available down below by just pushing the subscribe button. And if you do subscribe, you might want to click on that bell icon. That way you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.